whenever you are, Mayor.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight's City Council meeting. For those who are attending remotely, the camera in council chambers is set up to show those attending in person tonight. The platform we are using has a raised hand feature. You will notice a picture of a hand in the lower left-hand corner. When we reach the point in the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address council, you can click that button to be given your opportunity to address council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Tulley,
Here.
Councilor Selly,
Here.
Councilor Powers.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Scamperly, Councilor Stevenson. Here. Councilor Chivo.
Here.
Councilor Trim. Here. Quorum present.
I note that Councilor Scamperly informed us that he will be late tonight due to an issue he had to take care of. Seek council's permission to excuse him until that point in the meeting when he arrives.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Also, I note that Councilor Powers provided sufficient notice of his attendance remotely this evening. Therefore, he may participate in discussion and vote on any resolution acted on by City Council this evening. We have 4 presentations tonight, and our first will deal with the sewer use law. We'll invite our friends from DANK to come up for that presentation.
Good evening, Council. My name is Christian Bell. I am the Assistant Director of the Water Quality Division for Development Authority. I also have Terry Tuttle here, who is the Chief Operating Officer for the Development Authority as well. So, sewer use law, sewer use code is something we've been working on for quite a while at this point. City manager had asked us to come by and give an update of kind of where we're at. I'm going to break this up into 3 quick sections here, kind of give you a quick background on where we are, what's been done to this point, talk about some of the new changes, proposed sewer use law, and some of the next steps. So the city's existing law, adopted in 1979, very minimal changes since then, other than sewer rates done every year. Quite dated document. Overall, as far as sewer use laws go for municipalities, there are basically 2 regulatory agencies that govern this. That would be the EPA, DEC, Environmental Protection Agency, and the Department of Environmental Conservation. Those are the 2 regulatory agencies we're dealing with for the most part. EPA, interestingly enough, actually performed an inspection of your industrial pretreatment program for the wastewater facility in 2024. They did find some deficiencies and some minor deficiencies. However, one of the deficiencies is the outdated sewer use law and the requirement to update it. One of the driving forces here is EPA. Then, as you can see, for DEC there as well, DEC basically issues your permits for your wastewater treatment plant. They do these every 5 years. Every time they update these, they typically require an updated sewer use law that is outdated. You don't actually have that yet. Your permit actually expired in 2023, like a lot of regulatory agencies there are far behind. I would anticipate when you get a new permit for wastewater plant, updating your sewer use law will be a requirement as well. On that same note, DEC actually has what's called model sewer use law, basically a template to be used by municipalities. So they've done a lot of the work up front, giving templates out to municipalities, and you basically go through and kind of tailor it a little bit and particularly municipalities. This is actually something we began working on back in 2018, quite a few folks ago. I think maybe Jennifer was maybe involved in some of those workshops we had back then at that point. It didn't go too far. At this point now we have some regulatory agencies requiring this updated, so it's kind of where we're at now. Back into it, Fonda had asked if we can jump in and kind of dust that back off and update it again with any of the new regulations as they're constantly changing. So it's kind of where we're at right now. as mentioned there, the model laws obviously provides language that meets federal and state regulations. It is standard language and standard requirements. Most municipalities have some version of this model use law in effect. Really, the purpose of this apply with the most current regulations to accurately kind of reflect how the city delivers sewer services. A lot of reference in your current sewer use law that are for positions that don't even exist, city engineer or other stuff like that. It's not really the way things are working currently. Obviously, given the fact that it's 1979, it's not surprising. Overall, we put together a quick summary of changes that have been filed. We're not going to talk about every single one of these. Some of them are minor in nature, some of them are more serious in nature. There is a list of the limits or the changes there we can talk about, but I'm going to just jump in and kind of touch on a couple of the higher level ones. Look at these. There's a column on your left-hand column there that's items. Kind of jump right into number 2. Article 1, short title and purpose. This is a new section, basically an opening statement. It states the purpose of the sewer use law. And it's kind of important because, basically the statement is to provide efficient, economic, environmentally safe, and legal operation. Think about sewer use law in general. Everything you're doing is geared around what your wastewater treatment plant can handle, what it can treat. All the sewer they make to the wastewater plant ultimately gets processed there at the wastewater plant before it gets dumped into the St. Lawrence River, right? So it's kind of the driving force behind all of this. Wastewater plant has been upgraded, regulations have changed numerous times since 1979. So certainly need to dust this off again. I'm going to jump over to our item number 11, probably on the second page. It's kind of a bigger one. This is, deals with wastewater from outside POTW area, publicly owned treatment works, outside of your city limits, basically. This section is new, not something you have currently. It basically has 2 major parts. One for users outside of the city that are municipalities, or users that are outside of the city that are not municipalities. Municipalities are required to have an intermunicipal agreement to provide them sewer services. Not a municipality is required to be in a sewer district to provide them sewer services. It's important to note EPA kind of requires the sewer use law for other municipalities to be at least as stringent as the cities. When a municipality outside of the city has that IMA as kind of part of the process to ensure their sewer limits are the same as yours, so whatever those people are charging to the sewers matches at least as stringent as the cities. Article number 12. This is just a memorandum of the. This is kind of just giving the city some limits on what they can or can't do. So basically, the recommendation of the Public Works, Park Director of Public Works. City Council can limit or deny connection based on available hydraulic capacity or other potential to violate the law. Again, it's basically just giving the legal right not to accept outside sewer if there's a reason to expect that it would cause issues at your wastewater plant or within your system. Legal terminology in that one. I'm going to jump up to item number 28. This section is titled Inflow. This is an entire new section. Probably heard terminology I&I a lot during issues with sewer systems being infiltration or inflow. This section of inflow is a requirement for this new sewer use law. Basically, it says there's no new connections to the sewer systems for sump pumps, roof drains, cellar drains, footing drains, cooling water. Waters that shouldn't be in the sewer system. There cannot be any new connections to the sewer system of those particular flows. Furthermore, where they exist, they must be disconnected prior to the sale of the property. So if they exist, and they do exist in a lot of municipalities, and certainly in this one, they're supposed to be disconnected at that point. Inflow is a big problem, obviously, for the city. You guys realize you have a combined sewer system, and you have very high flows to the wastewater plant after wet weather. Normal day here, just to give you some rough numbers. In dry weather like today, the wastewater plant receives about 2,000 gallons per minute. Wet weather, we're seeing flows high at 15 to 16,000 gallons per minute. So water throughput even more than that in wet weather. So concept of getting some of this inflow out of the system is a hot topic for regulatory agencies. I'm going to jump to number 29, which is the next one. Trucker hauled wastes. This basically is a requirement for any hauled waste that comes to the wastewater plant. Prior to the upgrade a few years ago, the facility was under consent order and was not allowed to receive any outside waste. Once the project was complete, the consent order was lifted. He actually implemented many of these items already. Basically requires any waste haulers to be permitted with DEC, Part 364 permits. They have to apply and receive a permit through the city. They have to meet a lot of the specific requirements of the wastewater plant. There are restrictions for when they can discharge, for having high flows, off hours, etc. But although this is a new bullet to the sewer use law, this has already been happening, by the way, for the last several years. When we built the new septic receiving station down at the wastewater plant, all of this stuff was already implemented. So this is just really putting it into writing. Jump to item 31, concentration-based limits. Again, this basically lists concentration of numerous parameters of what could be discharged in the sewer system. That has changed dramatically over the years, the 70s for sure. Basically just putting limits on certain things that cannot be in the sewer system. Basically the same deal, protecting the wastewater plant, protecting the river where it's ultimately going to go. There are many chemicals and compounds out here nowadays that there weren't back then or we know about now. A lot of these are restricted. A lot of these sent to the wastewater plant. There's a lot of upset to the wastewater plant, or they call pass-through, which go right through the wastewater plant and directly into the river. So, this is something that's evolving all the time, but concentration-based limits were updated in this. There's a long table there within the sewer use law. I'm going to go to 37. This is another big one. This is discharge permit and pre-treatment standards. This section has been completely reworked. National categorical pre-treatment standards has changed numerous times. This entire section has to be redone. It basically deals with industrial users. In many cases, significant industrial users, we call SIUs, significant industrial users. These are basically users that discharge far more than a residential property would discharge into your sewer system, but also to discharge potentially things that would not be normal septic, chemicals, other things that have the potential to be damaged. The wastewater plant was approved. This entire section was reworked and basically deals with SIUs, how they're identified, how they're permitted, what reporting they have to give to the city, what kind of samples they have to collect, what laboratory data they have to collect, what procedures they have to follow from other regulatory agencies as well. It's a pretty complicated process, and the purpose of EPA's inspection in 2024 was actually to audit the existing SIU program. Many of the discrepancies they found were related around also. Section 38. This is enforcement response plan. Requirement of EPA, and this EPA mentioned in their 2024 inspection is a separate written document. Have not started to compile yet. This is basically an enforcement plan. What does the city do when they discover somebody some business, whatever it is, has violated the existing sewer use law? What is the process? How do you follow it? How do you implement corrective action, etc.? Entire separate written plan that needs to be drawn up and approved with EPA. That'll be another process. But this is the standard verbiage in here stating that it will be completed and the city will have one. Jumping up to 45, parameters of concern. Again, parameters of concern vary year to year and have changed quite often. Basically, very long list of compound chemicals out there that aren't allowed to be in the sewer system and are considered parameter concern. This is published by the EPA, it's not something any municipality puts together. It's recommendations from them as to what things to keep out of your sewer system. So that entire section was updated since the 70s. There's numerous more chemicals and compounds that are known hazardous. So I don't want to skip over too much there. There's lots of items that we could talk about for quite a while. I mean, this needs, a full review overall, and some of those next steps we can talk about. But anybody have any questions regarding any of those kind of higher level items we just talked about?
Questions from council?
So basically, this is still a process. It's a law that needs to be reviewed and enacted. Obviously, council has the review capabilities initially. This is a law. We have to go through the legal review process for public hearing. So we're aware of that process, adopted, and then ultimately EPA potentially want to review and have some say as well. Although these are documented about what they have given to us. So. Any questions on any of that?
Are we under any timeline or deadline we have to meet?
Right now, we are awaiting EPA's final report, which will be a certain trigger point. It will be a requirement, and they will give the deadline and timeframe. And that needs to be a little bit of playroom here, but I would not anticipate that lasting for very long. Contact information for myself, Eric.
Not to put management on the spot, but anything in these initial changes that causes any great concern, great challenge that you see at this time?
Not at this point.
Anybody else? Christian, thank you for this update.
Sure, appreciate it.
All right, next we have a recreation report from Rec Director Harrison Ward, Public Works Director Shane Brown.
Did not pull the right one. Would you like me to run and do that now if it will allow me? That's what I'm doing. Okay. I apologize. Here's, you can have it. Sir.
All right.
Hello, everyone. This year, the city pool will be closed and there is no summer school. And that leaves people wondering what is there for kids to do. We have a proposal here and we believe we can offer a solution. The city could operate a day camp and help to fill the void in activities. This camp would run from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to noon, and its primary location would be held at Lockwood Arena. Our goal with this program would be to provide a structured, engaging, and affordable summer experience for the local youth and fill in that void left by no pool and no summer school. So we would like to put together a balanced summer schedule. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we would focus on doing activities outdoors, which would include planned trips to local playgrounds and our new splash pads. This will allow kids to spend more time outside and cool off. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we would be focusing on specialty activities. These can include sports as well as arts and crafts. The trips to the USS Arkansburg and other playgrounds in the city, along with the splash pads, put an emphasis on physical activity and social interaction. On the days in which we aren't taking a trip, We'll be utilizing the arena space for sports such as basketball, hockey, and soccer. We can also provide arts and crafts and integrate some specialty items such as bounce houses and inflatable slides for the kids to play on. Within the day camp, we will be committed to the safety and engagement of everyone involved. We will maintain a 12-to-1 child-to-staff ratio, which is required by the Department of Health, but also ensures high-quality supervision and the ability to provide personalized attention to each camper. There are further requirements that we have to follow, and these include a dedicated camp leader. We will have to be required to have a medical director who is either an EMT, nurse, or a doctor, but they do not have to be on site at the camp. At least 2 of our staff members will be required to have active CPR certifications, and the camp director will be required to have higher level CPR and emergency first aid training. As briefly mentioned earlier, we are looking to purchase a 15-foot dry and wet inflatable slide, as well as a bouncy house. Not only will these be a great activity for the day camp, but they will also give us more options, and we will be able to use them at many different events around the city during the summer. We can get both the slide and the bouncy house for an all-in cost of about $5,000. We will be charging an affordable rate of $30 a week per camper for residents, which is consistent with our current summer camp pricing. We will charge $50 a week per camper for non-residents. For reference, Potsdam Summer Camp runs all day, and they charge $60 a week for residents and $80 a week per camper. And on this, you can also see projected revenues as well as staffing costs, maintaining that 12-to-1 child ratio. To summarize, the day camp would help to fill in the gap in activities this summer, with the pool being closed and no summer school. It is an affordable, high-quality 7-week program for up to 72 children that provides safe, supervised fun while utilizing our local assets. It also includes a strategic investment in inflatables for long-term community use. The only other thing I'd like to note about this is there is a 60-day turnaround between when we apply and when we are approved. So it is not urgent, but it is a process we do have to get going on if approved. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions from council?
One question I would have is that it would be a wonderful thing if we had 72 children attend the camp, but would our resident children get first placement over non-resident, or is it first come, first served?
That wasn't discussed.
We just use the base number of 72, so if we get over the number 72, we'd have to hire more staff to offset the number 50.
So it's not likely
Yeah, we just use 72 because we knew we didn't know if we could get to 72, so we just use that as a base number for the staff.
so it's not likely any child that lives in Ogden would be.
No, I don't think we just have to hire more staff every time we say we got to 100, we got to more. All kids we have to do.
Excellent.
Is there anything built in for families who would like to do it? I mean, I know $30 a week is reasonable, but
That is something we could talk about, but we could discuss that.
and then the next question was if people have multiple children. Sending one kid, that's one thing, but you got 3 and you're sending 3, like, is there any sort of built-in tiered charge?
We can look at that as well.
But if we did any of those changes, then it would increase the cost of running the camp.
Yeah.
Notice you including planned trips to various playgrounds, public transportation, city transportation, maybe walking to those locations.
These would be walking trips.
So they would meet at Blackwood and you would walk them to the splash pads.
Yep.
Or to Mansionette Park or something.
Yeah. Once there'd be a plan for the whole day and it includes the trip.
A lot of work has gone into this planning. It's a great program.
Thank you. Yep. This idea came from the Recreation Commission, so I want to give credit to them as well.
Takes a team.
Are we going to confirm that we have a medical director before we start signups?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yep.
DOT's policies, it said 60 days, it's pretty stringent, would have to have allow us to do it. So they said they try to turn it off. Seamless process, as schools close, it's a little less stringent. Next year, it'll be a little more stringent, I think the ratio goes down. And
So we'd be looking for consensus of council to move forward on the project, the program.
I'd be in favor.
Yep.
Let's see, Mike.
I'll continue. I don't see him. Counselor Powers, are you still there? Let's see if he's showing online. He is not. Yes, he is. He is showing online.
Mike just sent a text that he's in favor of the rec commission's recommendation
Thank you.
as well. So I think you have the consensus of council. This is, I think, well thought out, well prepared. Look forward to the opportunity for kids in the city to have an outlet this year in the absence of the pool. So thank you for developing the presentation and thank the rec commission for the idea.
Thank you. Could I also, at that last recreation meeting, I just wanted to put this out there. We talked about the extended marina season and nobody had any objections to that. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
He can hear, he can see, but cannot be heard. His mic is enabled. It looks like he's self-muted because I can ask, I'm sending him a request to unmute himself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, sir.
I've been getting booted off here earlier and I'm just having technical difficulties. I don't know if it's on my end or what the deal is, but
I'll try to keep an eye on you, sir, and make sure you're still there.
thank you, dear.
Sure.
All right, next, a presentation on quarter one financials from City Controller Angela Gray.
Good evening, Council. Included in your packet this evening were the first quarter operating results for 2026. Just to draw your attention to sort of what we're looking at. The first is a budget report that shows budget versus actual by major expense code by fund. So we present to you the general fund, water fund, and sewer fund. Overall, we're 3 months through the budget year rather. So we should expect to see in all the categories that we have at least 75% of the budget remaining. Fortunately, government money doesn't always go out in 1/12 increments. So there are some places where this falls below and it is explainable by timing. One of the such areas of that is within the sewer fund. You'll see that our debt, it has 37% remaining. That's because we pay the major parts of the sewer debt in the early part of the year. So that will come very close to zero by year end, but that is the reason why, is timing. The second report, oh, just before I get there, I just want to let you know that revenue in the general fund shows about 50% collected. The reason for that is we, at the end of March, had collected most of the city's real property taxes, which is our largest revenue source within the general fund. So we collect that, we'll fill our warrant. If we haven't done so this past week or so, by the end of April is what's anticipated. And so then we will have collected 100% of the city's warrant. Also to note, of curiosity, is the sales tax is running a little bit ahead of prior year. We did have some commercial businesses move into the city limits, and so we're, as always, continuing to monitor sales tax. The second report that you have is a 2-page report that basically takes the same information and looks at it very specific to department, ties back to your budget report that we go over at the end of the year, and you can see that most of the budgets are by department around that anticipated 75% remaining mark. Where they are not, it's explained via timing. Some of it is the winter activities that spends the money more in the first 3 months of the year than it does in the next 9. Hopefully we can keep the snow away. I don't know. So I was giving that as an update this year. I did also put together for you sort of what council can expect as far as future presentations. If you would like something further beyond this schedule, please do let the city manager know and we'll accommodate that. We plan on providing to city council and city at large a 5-year outlook of finances. That's been many months in the making, so we will be presenting that in the month of May. We'll do our standard mid-year review in the month of July, provide our third quarter presentation in the 2027 budget, excuse me, in the month of October, and follow that up with a 10-month projection, a 10-month actual, and a year-end projection in the month of November. So if there is something more frequent, something else you would like to see on that schedule, please do let us know. And I also would just like to update council from our department that the 2025 audit has kicked off and is starting. It's underway. So we are looking forward to going through that process. Any questions?
It's welcome news.
Yes, very welcome.
Questions or comments for Angela? No, so nothing jumps off the page as being
That is correct, sir.
extraordinary at this time.
Not at this time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next presentation is drinking water infrastructure needs, and that'll be presented by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. There we go. You can go right to the next slide, Kathy. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks very much, everyone. As I think everyone is aware, the city's invested significant dollars in its infrastructure lately, and most notably on the sewer side of things. The wastewater treatment plant has been rehabilitated, and we're currently working on the final parts of the consent order that we have with DEC to repair 2 major pump stations in East David Street. But the work is clearly not done. Infrastructure improvements are never done, but we're starting to make some significant progress. Lots of items that are pending, including inflow and infiltration issues, as well as our CSO and our combined workflows and waste flows. Those are dozens of millions of dollars in costs over time. Not something we can tackle right away, but we certainly can tackle them piecemeal, one at a time. But one of our biggest opportunities, and I would call it challenges as well, is our drinking water system that first came into commission in 1918. And although there have been some updates and rehabilitations, obviously a plant that's over 100 years old is going to need a major overhaul at some point in time. And while I will say at this point in time, the water quality is high, we've got some additional regulations coming from EPA, coming from DEC, and obviously a plant that's over 100 years old is going to need some significant work. So I want to talk a little bit about that tonight. So Kathy, if you go to the next slide, you're always ahead of me. In the summer of last year, an engineering firm, EDR, came to council and presented the results of a preliminary engineering study for our drinking water system. It identified a number of challenges and concerns, including meeting certain standards, because of the age of the facility, perhaps some operator safety issues, and certainly the future possibility of consent orders coming down the pike from DEC. Nothing to worry about now. We're trying to get ahead of it so that we don't get behind it. It's always better to be ahead of situations rather than have a regulatory agency come in and order you to do things. And we want to try to avoid that as much as possible when we have an opportunity here. That preliminary engineering report identified $26.9 million in work. You can see the slide here. It goes through the different components of that. What I will tell you is that that $26.9 million number is probably the floor. As we work through this, as we do a full engineering report and a full engineering study, and as we understand the regulations coming down the pike from EPA and DEC, that number is likely to grow. We also hope, however, that grant opportunities for the different components could open up for us. And I think we're getting into the consideration of a rehab of the drinking water at a good time to be able to make significant changes and hopefully be at the forefront of any grant opportunities. So if we go to the next slide, Kathy. Speaking of grant opportunities, in December of last year, so about 5 months ago, we received a WIA award of $5 million. That $5 million represents the largest amount that any municipality can win on its own. In addition to that, we have applied for and are moving pretty successfully through the congressionally directed spending process. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik has taken our proposal. It's a $10 million project within the $26.9 million. We asked for $8 million in support. She's bringing forth to the Appropriations Committee $7 million request. And that bill is going to be marked up, if I'm not mistaken, this coming Friday. So hopefully we get good news out of that. I do believe we'll get a significant portion of that $7 million. What that number ends up being, my crystal ball hasn't worked in years, so I'm not 100% sure. But if you look at the capital stack, between the $5 million from WIA, anywhere between say $5 and $7 million from the federal government, anywhere between 1/3 and almost half of this project potentially can be grant funded. The balance of that, because of our fiscal position here at the city, qualifies for hardship funding, so low or zero interest loans. So we've put together a pretty significant capital stack at this point. As additional grant opportunities come, we certainly will pursue them. We've been very successful in our grant attempts, and I have no reason to think we wouldn't do so as well. But it's to do infrastructure and have somewhere between 1/3 and half of it covered by grants is a pretty significant thing, and every dollar we get means a dollar that we don't have to pay back and pass along to our residents. Obviously, this is an infrastructure program, so it fits great within our RISE priority framework, but there's additional considerations to be made here. Not having good drinking water certainly does not enhance economic growth or quality of life. We have good drinking water. It's a strength of our community, and we want to make sure that we can continue that. Obviously, providing clean, safe drinking water is a core function. So not only does it fit within the RISE framework, but it's just certainly the right thing to do for our residents. So what we have here is a situation where we have an engineering report that has identified some realities that we need to address sooner rather than later. We've put together a significant capital leveraging stack to help pay for these improvements. And certainly this program aligns with our RISE principles. As the city manager, I recommend I do not execute priority decisions. That's a decision for council to make. But I strongly urge council, and I don't necessarily need the answer tonight, but we do need to know sooner rather than later if this is a priority for council for us to move forward. Obviously, we have some funding that's tied to a decision like that. But additionally to that, this is going to be a lot of work, and if council is interested in doing it, we're certainly ready to move forward on it. But if council is not interested in this as a priority for infrastructure, we're going to want to pull back on that and then reprioritize and do other projects. So at some point in time, I would ask council to give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down to this being our priority project in infrastructure for the next few years. It would be our recommendation, my recommendation to do so. But again, what I provide is advice and recommendations. I don't make policy decisions.
Thank you for the presentation, Vaughn. Questions or comments from council? Are we prepared tonight to make a recommendation to staff?
We've been talking about upgrades to our drinking water system since I was on council last time. We knew that it was a priority, but that the wastewater treatment plant was the first priority and had the most amount of issues. So I am prepared to say this is a priority.
Anyone else?
I think we need to do it. I think the sooner we can move along, the better, because as we all know, when we get into a project and it ends up being 4, 5, 6 years down the road before shovels hit the ground, the price increases sometimes 20% or 25%. So we're going to do it. I think the sooner the better.
Anyone disagree with that? So I think it's consensus of council. This is a very high priority for us.
Thank you. We have our marching orders.
Next, we have one proclamation tonight. Whereas the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the veterans of foreign wars in the United States has been officially recognized and endorsed by governmental leaders since 1922. And whereas VFW Buddy Poppies are assembled by disabled veterans, and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and needy veterans and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans. And whereas the basic purpose of the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the veterans of foreign wars is eloquently reflected in the desire to honor the dead by helping the living. Therefore, I, Michael Tooley, Mayor of the City of Ogdensburg, do hereby urge the citizens of the community to recognize the merits of this cause by contributing generously to its support through the purchase of Buddy Poppies from May 1 through May 31, 2026, for the distribution of these symbols of appreciation for the sacrifices of our honored dead. And I urge all patriotic citizens to wear a Buddy Poppy as mute evidence of our gratitude to the men and women of this country who have risked their lives in defense of the freedoms which we continue to enjoy as American citizens. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused this seal to be affixed. We have two public hearings tonight. The first is regarding a local law establishing a 12-month moratorium prohibiting the review and approval of applications for multiple residential dwelling units within the city of Ogdensburg. It is going to be bill number 37, and I will open that public hearing now. If anyone attending in person would like to speak regarding the public hearing, please come down to the podium and you will have 5 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Mayor Tooley and council members. Excuse my cold. My name is Barbara Briggs Ward. I serve as the board president on the Step-by-Step Board of Directors. I'm speaking here tonight on behalf of the organization requesting you to vote no against this moratorium. We believe that the intention of this moratorium is to block the agency from developing new services in the city and to prevent them from opening their doors to the Knox Street project that is close to being completed. We also believe that the recent statements and accusations made against Step by Step, most of them invalid and/or exaggerated, had a large influence on the decision to propose this moratorium. I would like to respond to some of the statements that have been made about services we provide made at the city council meetings held in January and February by sharing as many facts about these services as possible in the time allowed. The Knox Street Housing Program does allow a housing first model, not only because we believe this is the most effective model of combating homelessness, but also because our funders require us to follow this model. I would like to make it clear to you that the housing first does not mean housing only. Tenants are required to develop a service plan focused on independence and recovery goals within 30 days of tenancy. They must meet with a housing case manager at least once per month to review steps taken to reach their goals. They are also required to participate in monthly unit inspections, adhere to the rules and terms listed in their rental lease, to obtain and maintain a stable income and health insurance, establish themselves with the primary care physician, and also connect with behavioral health providers and programs when warranted. Housing first is exactly how it sounds, which the priority is getting a person off the streets first, and then the priority is getting connected to treatment and services. Our Ford Street and Mansion Avenue properties are not government funded, and Step by Step only works in the capacity of a private landlord for these properties. Although when a tenant is in need, we will provide services through other programs we offer to those tenants who accept them. The Warming Center program, operated by Step at 1515 Knox Street, is funded by the county's Department of Social Services. Concerns have been expressed by both council members and members of the public, and we share concerns as well. As you know, there is no other warming center in the county. This winter was especially long and cold, and we regularly had 20 to 25 patrons sheltered each night, resulting in a substantial increase of patrons compared to previous years. In total, we had approximately 3,000 overnight stays at the center this season. It was the most utilized season of the past 3 years of operating the program. As a result, we agree that 1515 Knox Street is not the most suitable location for the county's warming center moving forward, and we would welcome ongoing conversations with the city about the best way to ensure this service continues in the county while considering an alternate and appropriate site for it. Step by Step is questioning the validity of the volume of calls to the police presented at the February 9th City Council meeting, and are looking at them to further investigate the number of calls and the reasons of the calls to identify any avenues to reduce the number. As it was presented, there was not another content provided, and it provoked scrutiny upon the agency, questioning whether our programs are most burdensome than they are benefit. The new project Step by Step is proposing is funded and licensed by the New York State Office of Mental Health and is not permanent supportive housing like Knox Street. It will serve those who are leaving the hospital that require clinical services and support to learn how to live in a community successfully, and the average length of stay is 1 year. The other purpose is that it provides those who are already living in the community but are experiencing challenges a place to go to receive short-term clinical services to address symptoms, med changes, and so on. This service will allow them to keep their housing and not be at risk of becoming homeless. The maximum stay is 120 days for these services. As an organization that is trying their best to address issues that surface in this city, we inform you that passing this moratorium would increase them, not reduce them. Therefore, I am closing by requesting you to please vote no to this proposed resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers?
Okay. Good evening, council. It's a given that this will delay, possibly stop, the planning process for 100 Ford Street and the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the new building at 1515. Not to mention possibly depriving United Helpers of $1 million. However, there are additional consequences. We have a pro-housing designation. That's in jeopardy now. You need that designation to obtain the grants that we've already obtained. New York Restore, the DRI. What does Albany think of this? Is this money now in jeopardy? This is really not a good look. DRI projects included multi-unit housing. One of the goals of the DRI is to cultivate a variety of housing opportunities that has the potential for building a welcoming, and inclusive community. Our New York Restore grant was granted just last fall. 119 West River Street lofts, 10 residential units. What's going to happen to those? How does this impact the other United Helpers building on Ford Street that's for sale, St. Margaret's School, Salvation Army, any of these other properties that might have this multifamily use? Has anyone asked the realtors in town how this will affect the many multifamily properties that are currently for sale, some of which are pending? How many properties will be impacted that have been undergoing renovations or require a certificate of completion and occupancy? How does this impact the developers or the property owners with triplexes or larger who might have been eligible for the Franklin County Vacant Housing Program money that we heard about at the last council meeting? So if a review and update of the city's comprehensive development plan is necessary, and we agree it is, but if that's necessary in order to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare, why not a moratorium on all development? Surely the development of the Diamond property and others fits that. Or perhaps we want to exclude housing as a possible use for those properties. The city has relied on the LWRP as the CDP in the past. The planning board references it when considering appropriate use. Who is going to lead the development of the CDP if available resources are busy with the DRI? Is 12 months a viable time frame? Or will we be back here listening to you approve an extension for another 12 months? You've also built in an additional hurdle and work for staff for those property owners who may wish to get an exemption from the moratorium based on hardship. But hardship is not defined, so you open yourself up to possible more litigation. Finally, it's ironic that at the city council meeting 320, you proclaimed April as the Fair Housing Month, which included the following statement: whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness. This moratorium will only stifle development and may lead to an avoidable expenditure of taxpayer money for legal costs and fines. Again, I would urge you to vote no on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Anyone else in chambers?
Hello, Deb Quinn here. I was just thinking, I read in the This Week paper, to receive the funding for the city, they have to be, to receive such funding, the city has to be certified under Kathy Hochul's Pro Housing Community Program. I looked up that program and I didn't see anywhere in the whole thing that it said for mental health rehab, drug addiction. And I also decided it would be a great thing and wrote my letter for the DRI. But I never knew in any part of that DRI that it meant to have drug addiction and alcohol rehab in the middle of town. We are here to promote tourism, and I don't think that that's a good look. And I don't mean to be prejudiced against mentally ill and drug addicted, but I think we certainly should have used the Ogdensburg Correctional Facility for this purpose. Because, there was just something on Facebook today about a drug addicted person walking down the street in Messina. And, multiply that by how many people we're going to have here, 100, 200, I don't know. And right by the pool and the splash pad, drug addiction is a bad thing. And I don't mean to be against people with mental illness. My mother was mentally ill. And if you knew what one person in a family could do to the rest of the family with mental illness, it's a lot. I hate to say it, but my mother was crazy. We lived at Ogden Arms, I did with her, and she was pouring boiling water down the holes from the old pipes that were in the building and were removed because she thought someone was watching us. She took the battery out of her car and put it in the oven. She even backed into a police car. She was schizophrenic. So that's one person. And my sister had to go to court to get me away from her. So, I've got a lot of heart for people with mental illness. And she spent a lot of time at the psych center. But divvying these people out throughout the city, Mansion Ave, Knox Street, J Street, wherever you want, it looks like, in my opinion, that they are targeting our whole city for any property that could be a nonprofit, whether it's the Salvation Army or this St. Marguerite de Youville, and it's taking all our property off the tax roll. I have the utmost, respect for the poor people that are afflicted with this, but is this what we want in the middle of town? And I vote for the moratorium in regards to these homeless, drug-addicted shelters. And where is Mr. Bain? Why is he not down here coming to these meetings and telling us what's going to happen? And I think they just want another one through before we see what actually is going to happen on this Knox Street property. I think it's a warning. And, I think the governor is like pushing all of this to the upstate people. We're the biggest county, so why not have them everywhere? And mark my words, that's what is going to happen. Every empty building, every empty school is going to be filled with homeless shelters. So it's not a good look. They need to be in a place like a psych center where they've got total treatment. So I'm not sure what else to say about it, except that I figured we were finished with this, but I can see they're going to target every single place that looks like a school or something like that, and we are going to be totally non-taxed here. And what are we supposed to do? What are the remaining people supposed to do? That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Hello, my name is Jim McCarthy, lifelong resident of Ogdensburg. Wasn't prepared to speak tonight. Seen a lot of people posting on Facebook about the housing projects, and I just read a little bit today, I think it was on North Country Now, stuff that I didn't know about the moratorium could delay the opening of the 1515 Knox Street project, which is 2 blocks away from my house. I just want to say I don't have a problem with 1515 Knox Street. It's 2 blocks away from my house. It hasn't created any problems for me. I know a lot of people say, I don't want this in my neighborhood. Put it down at the prison. Don't put it here. Don't put it there. But people always used to say too, you need services for these people. You need help for them, whatever. Okay, let's take that away. No, we won't make any new housing for homeless people. Okay, we're going to leave it alone. We're going to forget about it. We're going to put this moratorium up. We're not going to have any new housing for homeless people. What does that do? Does that solve our homeless problem? No. Today, when I walked into this meeting, there was a homeless lady walking by, carrying probably all of her possessions. Earlier today, we saw somebody that was obviously on drugs in front of the Boys and Girls Club, on the ground, talking to himself, yelling at the air. They're here. Do you not want them walking down the street? You're going to propose a law. If you're homeless or if you're drug addicted, you can't walk down 4th Street. You can't walk in my neighborhood. We don't want you living in our neighborhood. We don't want you in our neighborhood. Where do you want them to go? The prison, the psych center. Hey, that'd be great. They're going to go to a store. How are they going to get to a store? They're going to walk. They're going to walk down Proctor Ave. They're going to go to Nice and Easy, 7-Eleven. They're going to go to Stewart's. People are homeless. People are mentally ill. They're here. They're people. They're human. What are we doing? What are we doing? Is this moratorium going to help our city? Is it going to hurt our city? So what I want you to know is my feelings on this are, I don't want you to do anything that's going to hurt the city just because people don't want these people in our neighborhood. Hopefully it doesn't affect our grants or the opening of 1515 Knox Street, but people be compassionate. These people have problems. They need help. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jim.
Hi, I'm Shannon. On this topic, I know that we've had people here from Step by Step, and they've heard the concerns of the city and the problems that we've had over the past year. And I love that they are, also concerned. But in the past year, there's no policies. They have no policies in place to deal with the issues with the overuse of the police. There's no policies of the lewd in public. So I get that they're concerned, and that's kind, but being in business, you should already have this set. There should be policies in place. Where are the rules? What are the expectations? We have to have those. They should be accounted for when going into one of these buildings. These are the rules, these are the regulations. If you don't adhere to them, then this is what happens. But here, all we're hearing is that they have concerns as well. We don't need their concerns, we need their action. They have no action. And I do believe when we're talking about housing, we're talking about affordable housing. And that's what we talked about with the Franklin County. And just so we're aware, nobody other than my wife and I has actually applied for the Franklin housing. So if people were so inclined and concerned, maybe other people would have applied for it, though nobody has. So that came from them. And as far as the drug addicts and the psych residents, that's also fine to give them housing. It does not mean that they will choose to live in said housing. Some people that are homeless actually choose to be homeless. I know some that have chosen that. You can give them a place to stay. But again, they're not just going to live there and hide out there. They are going to be walking the streets, going to stores. I'm not quite sure what everybody thinks all the shopping they'll be doing with no funds other than loitering, soliciting. Now we end up with a different issue. I believe that the moratorium is an excellent idea and is actually shifting the city in a much needed direction. If perhaps we come back in maybe a year's time with another solution for the population that is in need, then yes, that makes sense. But as of right now, there's no policies, there is no ideas. We should just feel bad, but feeling bad doesn't change somebody's situation. Counseling does. Programs do that are actually overseen, that are being spearheaded by people who are actually working at these places. I have worked for several of these places, and I have seen them get their meds adjusted, go back out on the street, not take their medication because, again, there is no out of the street oversight. It is if they choose to come to programs, because that is their right to choose to be on medications or not to. So regardless of our own personal feelings, the fact of the matter remains, you cannot make people do what they do not want to do. I believe that the city is going in a positive force with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Wilson Mashaw. I know most of y'all up there anyway. I had no intention of speaking. Some of you know I live pretty close to this physical building, and I walk all day long. I walk 4 times a day in a different direction from my house every day. And I come upon many people who concern me, but not to the point that I've ever been scared. I've been more empathetic and concerned. Why are they there? Why are there not places for them? There's a bench near my home where for years someone has been sleeping on it as soon as the weather gets nice. And again, I am concerned for the people. I don't know all the stuff Wendy knows and Barbara mentioned, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name. You had mentioned some things too. I'm just speaking from the heart that if there's any programming or any way we can help people who are not as privileged as all of us, then I would like us to think about that, because they are there. They are in our community. They are walking. They are everywhere. And when I say they, it just seems derogatory to even talk about unhoused people as just a they, or people with mental illnesses as they. They are us. We just happen to live in better homes.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone else in chambers? If anyone attending remotely would like to speak regarding the public hearing, please use the raise hand feature in the lower left-hand corner of your screen and you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
The first individual is registered as Greg McNamara, and I will enable his microphone now. Mr. McNamara, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, first, I'm glad I waited till the end here because a lot of ideas popped in my head after hearing all the other speakers on both sides of this. I 100% support this move. Number one, beyond all the feelings with everything, Ogdensburg is beyond its capacity for nonprofit organizations and religious organizations. It's been for years and years, and it's common sense. The article I saw about this whole ordeal in North Country Now kind of bothered me. I do stay in contact with the crew over there about stuff, and they didn't post anything or make a news article about what you guys did to the home businesses to this day. But then they go and do kind of a one-sided article, as far as I'm concerned, on this particular subject. They didn't use any of the numbers that you guys presented at the last council meeting as far as how many police calls and fire calls are at these buildings, and that the only place that even near close to that is the big box stores we have here in the city. Earlier tonight, a woman supporting this, that didn't support this, Ms. Hamilton, she's complaining about United Helpers losing money on a sale. Well, they never want to do this publicly. I don't think that's a terrible organization, but they destroyed a flower shop. They're in the process of destroying another turnkey business that they just bought, that they're working on. I don't really feel that bad for United Helpers, to be honest with you. And I think if they wanted to have one of David Bain's facilities, maybe they should do it down on Acco Drive, where the people that run United Helpers live, or perhaps where David Bain lives in his town, or a block or within a stone's throw of where he lives. It is ridiculous that CEO, David Bain of Step by Step, with all the stuff that's gone on at these meetings and in the city, has never grown a set of family jewels to get up to that podium or even show up there. Not one time. And then he sends employees there. That's a typical sign of a corporate CEO that cannot be trusted. Just like the hospital, for example. Now, I also saw in the North Country Now article, Councilor Stevenson gave her opinion, and that's fine. But I thought it was inappropriate for them to even ask her. She was the only person that was against this. They should have asked the people who were for it on their opinions. And she brought the whole pro-housing, Governor Hochul, the $10 million DRI grant. You know what? If that's what's going on with Governor Hochul's office, and first of all, she's been a complete disaster for the state, in my opinion.
Please stay
her
focused.
whole tenure here. No, this has everything to do with this, Mr. Tooley. Thank you. And her whole tenure here. And then you guys act like the governor's office is extorting us to put these facilities here in order to get money for a completely other grant. If that's the case and that's really what's going on, I would tell her to keep her $10 million DRI grant and stuff it, is what I would do. Fair housing under this government here, and the Democrat Party running New York State, is nothing equal to communist socialism. The church has written letters to you guys with the former OCCS crap, calling the citizens who come in here and complain about the disaster that Step by Step has caused in this city prejudiced. We're prejudiced. We're this, we're that. We're going to shut the gates and not let the kids use the playground. We're going to pull the playground out. That never happened. And what I would say to that reverend who wrote that letter is, and I hate to say this, I really do, but if we're all prejudiced, well, what are all the priests and stuff involved in our local Catholic church who molested all the kids in the big sex scandal?
Right,
like, the audacity of that motherfucker.
Expect the call.
Yeah, of course you would, scumbag. Like,
Anyone else from Open Camp?
I did not see any hands raised, Mayor.
All right, and at this point, I believe we do have some correspondence for this public hearing.
We do.
I'll ask Kathy to read the correspondence.
Mayor and council, I am in favor of council's decision establishing a moratorium on further development west on Ford Street from State Street. I also think this moratorium should extend until the city has a permanent comprehensive development plan. I realize this decision is frustrating to some because it interrupts current plans, including much needed affordable housing. Our community needs, our community needs a comprehensive development plan going forward to guide development planning across the city. A comprehensive plan will provide a strategic blueprint for long-term developmental growth. It will address environmental protections, actually promote economic development, and help justify future zoning decisions regarding land use. Most importantly, a comprehensive plan will avoid future reactive growth, such as what we now face due to the previous decisions made to embrace urban renewal in this specific area of Ford Street. Thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts. Best, Catherine Reinbold. Mayor and council persons, I think it is a very good idea to put through the moratorium. Remember, we need to bring in people and industry that can contribute to taxes to keep the city afloat. Our waterfront is the only calling card for us. We need to consider stopping nickel and diming the little people. I've talked to middle class individuals that were considering relocating to Ogdensburg in their senior years. This is what they said: taxes are too high, the city doesn't offer anything. Businesses have said it isn't a friendly attitude towards out-of-town people, and there aren't enough paying citizens that can support our business costs. Food trucks can't afford additional fees. Concerned local Brenda.
Thank you, Kim. So with that, I declare this public hearing closed. The next public hearing is regarding an ordinance amending Chapter 221 of the Augsburg Municipal Code entitled Zoning. This is going to be Bill number 39. I'll open that public hearing now. If anyone attending in person would like to speak regarding the public hearing, please come down to the podium and you will have 5 minutes to speak. Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to speak regarding the public hearing, please use the raise hand feature in the lower left-hand corner of your screen and you will have 5 minutes to speak.
The first individual is registered as Greg McNamara.
Mr. McNamara has lost the privilege to speak at this public hearing.
Understood, ma'am. I do not see any other hands raised.
I declare this public hearing closed. It brings us to personal appearance. At this time, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium and you will have 5 minutes.
Hello again. New subject, new topic. I think I've mentioned this before, and I would like you to consider it again, that you as council can make the rules about how we participate in this process with you. The admin regs do say specifically about citizen participation and 5 minutes, and questions have to go through the chair But also there is actually opportunity there if a counselor wants to ask a question of the person who's at the podium, they can. But the public hearing is the part that really concerns me, because we do have a number of issues that are emotional, that are bigger than maybe the first idea that came to mind, and that may need some workshopping, may need some additional discussion before it goes to that formal public hearing. Because this 5 minutes of one way, well, we saw what happened a couple of weeks ago. People get, very emotional about it to the point where they find it hard to put their words together. If we had some sort of workshop situation before the public hearing where there's a good exchange of information, factual information, not Facebook information, but factual information from all parties, that would help us all understand the issues and maybe even bring more solutions to it, rather than just, the squeaky wheels getting the grease. So I would like you to consider how we might do that. Maybe not for every public hearing, some of them are pro forma, but where we know that it's going to be a heated issue or a bigger issue, let's think about ways that we can have a more civil conversation and have a dialogue before the formal public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Anybody else in chambers? Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to address council, please use the raise hand feature. The city clerk will recognize and unmute one person at a time, and you will have 5 minutes.
I do not see any hands raised, Mayor.
So that brings us to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence this evening?
We do not.
Next, our consent agenda.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I point of order. That's the only reason I'm interrupting you right now. I've had 2 citizens reach out to me asking that shouldn't Councilor Powers be visible and able to speak to us to be participating. So I need to bring that forward as a point of order.
Thank you.
I can see that he is live. His connection is live, but I don't see that his camera is active.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. We cannot see you.
I stated earlier that I'm having difficulties here. It kicked me off prior to even the meeting started twice before I logged in. I can see and hear, and there are times when it's wonky and the audio isn't all that good. And I click on the camera continually, and sometimes it pops on, sometimes it doesn't. And I expressed earlier that it may be on my end. I'm not sure, but.
Is it the consensus of council to permit Councilor Powers to continue to participate in these discussions?
Yes.
I think we need to follow what the video conferencing policy is that was enacted. Because I've had 2 citizens reach out to me while we're having this meeting. So obviously it's been noticed.
Right.
And I'm sorry for that.
And I don't recall what that policy says, quite honestly.
I'm not texting you. They reach out to me. It happens quite frequently when people can't hear us. And I will ask them if they can speak louder. We also receive texts from Councilor Powers during this meeting with his vote.
Yeah, that I can hear and see, but that you couldn't hear me at one point.
As I said, I'm not bringing this forward. I'm bringing it forward on behalf of that. And if that's the case, I'm sorry, but it's frequent that we receive text messages when people can't hear something.
Well, we had the one instance where he wasn't heard and texted his comment. At this point, though, we can hear him.
I mean, I'm going to log out and try and log back in again to see if anything changes. But I mean, I've done it 3 or 4 times already, and it booted me off twice already. Stand by, or continue on, and I'll just log out and log back in.
Next, we have our consent agenda. that the claims as enumerated in general fund warrant number 8-2026 in the amount of $614,903.53, and library warrant number 8-2026 in the amount of $0, and capital fund warrant number 8-2026 in the amount of $57,141.60, and community development fund warrant number 8-2026 in the amount of $75.98, and community renewal fund warrant number 8-2026 in the amount of $0 as audited, be and saying hereby are ordered paid. I so move.
Second.
Would the city clerk please call the roll?
Mayor, I just want to note for the record that Counselor Powers is now visible.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Oh, we cannot hear you, sir. Hold on, let me send you an unmute request and see if that will help us.
The unmute seems to work when you send it to me.
There we go. We can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
Okay, so I can call the roll now, Mayor?
Yes, call the roll on the consent agenda.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Silly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Approved.
We do not have any appointments tonight, so that brings us to items for council action. Our first item of business was tabled at the February 9, 2026 council meeting. It is bill number 13, a resolution authorizing fees at the municipal marina for the extended season. I will make a motion to remove this from the table.
Second it?
Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Silly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Approved.
Thank you. Any discussion on the resolution? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Trim?
No.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Silly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers? I'm sending another request.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Thank you. Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Approved.
Mayor, Mike, can I intercede?
Yes, please.
I thought we were voting on number 2.
No, our vote is on the resolution, on the bill number 13.
Kathy, can you change my vote to yes, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A local law establishing a 12-month moratorium prohibiting the review and approval of applications for multiple residential dwelling units within the city of Ogdensburg.
Someone care to introduce this resolution?
I'll move that.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please, yes, Councilor Silly. We'll go right.
Maybe kind of disjointed. I am in favor of this resolution. However, the fact that it endangers all of our DRI projects probably forced me to vote no after listening to other people's arguments. I do want to respond to a few things that I've heard tonight. First off, City of Ogdensburg has a long history of dealing with the mentally ill. And I don't think anything in this project has anything to do with discrimination against the services that they're providing. Shortly after I moved to Ogdensburg, Governor Mary Cole downsized or essentially closed the psychiatric center with promises that there were going to be kinds of community services developed to aid the people we're talking about. Unfortunately, they failed to mention the fact that they weren't going to pay for it, and they expected the city to pay for it, which we don't have. We do have to do something about the large tax exempt properties that seem to be proliferating. I'm thinking just in the last couple of years, the number of multi-resident places that are tax exempt, I may be wrong, but they seem to be multiplying very rapidly. Step by Step's not alone in this. I'm looking for large housing developments here in the city. I believe they pay a small percentage of
in lieu of taxes, the housing authority, but it's nowhere near what it's costing the city services to provide police, fire, protection, et cetera, to those communities. And when Step by Step says that it's not costing the city anything at all, that is a misnomer, okay? Again, we need to do something, and we need to get that comprehensive development plan updated as quickly as we can. We've been negligent in getting that done. If you know me, I'm not much in favor of planning at all. I prefer to sell stuff to people, let them do what they want with it. But we do need to address, Mr. McNamara is right, we need to address the amount of projects that seem to be developing in the city that are tax exempt. But again, because of the effect on our DRI project, I am probably going to vote no on this resolution.
Deputy Mayor Stevens.
When I look at this moratorium, it's a local law establishing a 12-month moratorium prohibiting the review and approval of applications for multiple residential dwelling units in the city of Ogdensburg. That is not about not-for-profit or profit. It's not about whether they pay taxes, they don't pay taxes. It's not about a service use or a residential use. It's a moratorium across the board, and that's why I'm not supporting it. I'm not supporting it, and it's not that I'm for any not-for-profit or against any not-for-profit. I am looking at the larger picture with this. There are many buildings in this city that are in disrepair or vacant, and none of those buildings could be considered during this time frame to be upgraded or to be used and converted to multi-family 3 units or more residential in the city. And we drastically need that. So if we look at the number of buildings that are available in the city, and we see a 4-unit building that's very small, and someone may want to purchase that and invest in that and then turn it into 3 larger, nicer apartments, they couldn't do that during this time frame. And that is tax dollars, but they could not do that. So I think that if we're looking at this in a method that it is targeting one development, that is not the case here. This is the entire city with a moratorium on any multi-unit, over 2 units building in the city and any changes. So if there is a 4-unit building and one of the units is not finished right now, and we pass this moratorium and it takes effect, a developer could not finish that 4th unit because they can't get a certificate of occupancy. So that is my biggest concern. We want to show that we are open for business and that we want to work with developers and we want to embrace them and we want this to happen. But when we do this moratorium, we're saying, okay, but after a year, we should have an LWRP that acts as our comprehensive plan or a comprehensive plan. We should have that. Shame on us for not having that already. We have had a lot on our plates, but now we're saying we're going to try to play catch up by stopping development. And I just can't support that. So I will not support this because I think it's anti-business. I think that it's anti-development, and I cannot do that.
Councilor Scantling.
First of all, some good points here. All night by both sides of an issue. I don't think the issue is directed towards one specific project or type of project. As Jen said, I agree totally. This is about, I think Kathy Reinbold's letter says it all. This is about a comprehensive plan, a blueprint for tomorrow, for the city. We've gone way too long without something like that. We need to have a blueprint for this city. This is a very short lapse of time. 1 year is nothing. And there's an appeals process for any projects that have already started. In case, obviously, if it poses a hardship, they can do so. The bases are covered for those types of incidences. And this is merely about putting on the brakes here. Many good points tonight, whether it was from, again, both sides of the aisle. And I'm in support of the moratorium for what it is, a very brief, a chance for the city to take a breath and see, now that we have people who want to plan and develop in the city, Where is the right places for planning and development? What's our business district? What's our marina district? Our restaurants, our gas stations? It's beyond one particular subject. It's the entire city. And that is the purpose of this moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, no comments from the audience, council deliberations. Please be quiet.
I will not be in favor of this moratorium for the reasons Jen has said also. A year is a long time. If you have investors waiting to invest in a property, and we've seen it with other properties, they pull their money and they go somewhere else. So I will not be voting in favor of this moratorium. I think it's bad for the city, bad for the DRI. I agree with Mr. McCarthy. The compassion for others has been our basic premise with our prisons. We welcome the prisons, we welcome the state hospital because we've been compassionate. And I know these folks are walking the streets, and I live right around the corner from 1515. I haven't experienced any of these folks, and I hate to call them these folks. It sounds like they're like some type of aliens or something. Remember, we are only one hit to the head, one bad whatever stroke from being those people. So I will not be voting to extend this moratorium for those reasons.
Councilor Trent.
I already gave the heads up on my vote when I voted on the wrong thing. But so I also will not be supporting the moratorium. I know, as Storm said, that there is a history of mental health issues that need to be dealt with. I would love to think, and maybe this is just, that leftover 70s hippie stuff that I used to be. But I would love to think that as a city we could work with David Bain, we could become more of a team. And this isn't, like Jen said, this isn't necessarily about step by step. And Dan's got a good point about needing a long-term plan and being thoughtful about where things go. But working together with these community agencies that I know as a social worker have the best interest of people in general at heart. So how do we work with folks to do what's best for our city?
They gotta show up here.
You haven't been asked to talk.
Please restrain. All right, we're standing in recess. We have order in this chamber, please.
Would you have him please remove from the chambers, please?
Jane talked from the crowd earlier
We'll-
on city business, and you let it happen the whole time.
We'll ask for order in the chambers.
All right. I will, but come on, you know what I'm saying is right. Factually, you were here when it happened. Thank you. Okay. Right. You can't override the Constitution. Even though you're chief of police, I know. Greg, I'm asking you to sit there and be quiet. Thank you. All right. Well, they run the meetings this way. Can you do that? I can. Thank you. Just as much as you can.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I support the concept of a moratorium. I don't know if there's anything that we can do to step back and maybe sit on this for a spell, for a period of time, to have it a solid legal review here, and to see if there's anything that we can come to terms for all appropriate parties. I agree with Councilor Scamperly and many others.
We've lost your audio, sir.
I support, obviously, you're well aware of my position with the LWRP and the comprehensive plan for our community to come together. Councilor Stevenson said it. She said it adequately. That, without it, to an extent, shame on us, but to an extent as well, we've got a lot going on. And with that being said, I don't know if this is council's wishes to maybe have this, pump the brakes on this for a minute, to have it explored a little more deeper, to access the need of the many, along with the needs of the homelessness and the mentally ill, to see how this could progress forward. If that's not the intent of council, I'll probably support the moratorium. And I understand fully what that'll come with. And it's not so much the aspect of negating anybody or the needs of anybody, but it's the process of the going on with the state of New York that we rely on continually. And that's not going to change overnight. And if we cut that bridge, then we're not going to have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. Well, I believe the moratorium is well-intentioned. Communications from representatives of the Department of State and the Governor's Office in the past few days have expressed concerns about the impact that the moratorium could have on potential DRI projects that include a residential component. And I think addressing that concern should take precedent over that in the terms of the moratorium. You know, we tried so hard for the DRI over 9 or 10 years, and to see that use of those monies and the projects proceed, be possibly impacted or threatened by the moratorium is just something I can't support. So I will be voting no on this resolution. Any other discussion from council?
I have one.
Yes, please.
I'm very conflicted over this because I was very in favor of a moratorium, but I guess I was thinking more along large scale type housing developments. I wasn't really thinking about 3 and 4 apartment houses or those size buildings. And that seems to be what this moratorium would be mostly preventing. Yet I can't go against the information we got from the state that we're endangering the funding for the DRI projects going forward over the next few years. We just can't afford to lose those projects.
Anyone else?
Personally, I don't think it even comes close to endangering DRI. The state posed some questions for us, but I don't see any projects shovel ready right now. Projects that are in DRI that include apartments are a different matter. And again, there's an appeals process that quite simply, I think people forget about that. And again, this shouldn't be targeting a specific group of people or something like that. It's a blueprint for the city. That's it. That's why this thing is here. So, I'm good.
Anyone else?
Your Honor, I would address that the hardship is hard to prove. That is something that's not easy. It has to show a true hardship, not that I just want to invest and I want to do. Those are the projects that I would be concerned that we would lose. The investor that wants to come in and wants to do something that could be prohibited from doing that. So the hardship, while it's there, it is truly meant to show that is a hardship. It doesn't mean that you have a good plan. You could have the best plan in the world and you could want to invest the most amount of money that we could ever see. But that is not a hardship. That is the biggest concern that I have. So that's one of the reasons why I cannot support this, is that the hardship is very difficult to do. I trust that our planning board can understand that we have Marina District, we have a downtown, we have areas that we want to help, and they can set criteria for each of those projects that come before them. We need to put the fast track on getting the LWRP with the comprehensive plan, and we need to trust in the zoning and planning boards while that is happening.
Anyone else on council like to speak? Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tully,
No.
Counselor Sully,
No.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
No.
Counselor Chivo,
No.
Counselor Trim,
No.
denied.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
An ordinance amending Chapter 221 of the Ogdensburg Municipal Code entitled zoning.
Someone care to introduce this?
I'll move that.
Second?
Just a brief overview again, please.
Sure, this is for the battery energy storage ordinance that we reviewed last meeting.
And I take it in communications to council, you are suggesting that council revise section 112-7, part A, which is the permitting requirements for tier 2 battery energy storage systems. The language before us says that the special permit approvals within the industrial, institutional, and business zoning districts, and I believe it was your recommendation to delete business zoning districts, is that correct?
I don't necessarily say I have a recommendation per se. I think that council should think about that. I think industrial makes perfect sense, given the fact that most of our business properties are in an area where we probably want to drive retail as opposed to this type of development because of the sales tax, that council may want to take a second look at that particular zoning designation and allowing best storage in those areas.
Is council given any consideration to this?
I haven't, honestly. Should we table this for now?
Yeah, if we're not ready to address that, I mean, I would support the recommendation personally, but if council wants more time to think about this, I don't think it's time sensitive.
I would be in favor of supporting it, but I feel that all of us need to be on the same page, so I'm not opposed to tabling, as far as understanding.
Would anyone else like to make a comment before I entertain a motion to table?
I'm fine with the recommendations.
I'll make a motion to table, and it's fine if it doesn't go through, that's fine.
All right, motion made to table this, and it's been seconded. Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Sully,
No.
Counselor Powers,
To table?
Yes.
that's correct, sir, it's a call to
Yeah,
table.
yes, yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Chivo,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Mayor Tully,
Yes.
table.
The next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution establishing the refund and billing process for home-based businesses between January 1, 2026 through June 30, 2026.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Basically, I think this simplifies the process by which people have already made a payment. Rather than have it refunded, it was just given as a credit to the next building. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's much more efficient than what I originally suggested.
Yeah, and then the other part of that, just to put it kind of on the record, is we do have a billing for water in May. This ordinance doesn't take effect till July 1, so it gives the controller's office the authority to bill under the residential rate, just as a transparency.
Yes, thank you. Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Chivo,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Mayor Tully,
Yes.
Counselor Sully,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution in support of Assembly Bill A 10387, Senate Bill 9558, known as the Local Government Notice Modernization and Transparency Act.
Someone care to introduce this?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And just a quick overview from my perspective, this has been recommended to council by the New York Conference of Mayors, who point out that legal notices are required now to be provided in printed newspapers. and across the state, across the country, we're seeing less print newspapers. The cost to post those type of legal notices is becoming more expensive. And what this resolution does is supports these two bills, which would allow the posting of legal notices on the city's website, as well require that it visibly posted at 3 prominent sites in the city. So again, being proposed, supported by NICOM, and they've asked for support in municipal resolutions to this effect. Questions or comments? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Sully?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Approved.
And our next line of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution in support of New York State Assembly Bill A10806, Senate Bill S9660, known as the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code Accountability Act.
Someone care to introduce this?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And again, another resolution that the New York Conference of Mayors is recommending, and what this bill is proposing, that there be critical reforms to executive law to modernize and strengthen enforcement of building fire safety standards. And the details of that are within the resolution itself. I think they're pretty self-explanatory. And again, I think they make a lot of sense. I know, Chief, if you'd like to offer comment on that, I don't. Sorry to put you on the spot.
It's okay, I was prepared. So essentially what this is going to do, currently under the uniform code, a municipality could have a stricter code against the uniform code, but there's a process to establish that, which sometimes takes some time. So they may have some ordinances that are 30 days. We can make it 15 days, but we have to get approval. This is going to streamline that process and in some cases eliminate it altogether, which, as you know, in some properties we might not want to wait 30 days depending on what we're doing. So I also support it.
Thank you. Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Sully?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution calling for a public hearing on a local law to amend Chapter 215, Sections 39, 40, and 41 of the Ogdensburg Municipal Code entitled Water Rates.
I'll move that.
Second.
And just an overview.
Yeah, water and sewer rates are levied by local law. Given your decision on the home-based businesses, we have to make some adjustments. Those adjustments must be made by local law. So part of the local law process is a public hearing, so this establishes that.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Sully?
Yes.
Counselor Powers? Counselor Powers, it looks like his screen is froze, Mayor. I can't even connect. It looks like his screen is frozen. Looks like he's dialing back in right now.
Yeah, I just have the text. It's moving.
You're moving, Counselor Powers. We can see you moving.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear. So we're doing a roll call regarding to call for a public hearing regarding water rates.
Bill 44?
You are correct.
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Approved.
And our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution calling for a public hearing on a local law to amend Chapter 177, Sections 5 and 6 of the Ogdensburg Municipal Code entitled Sewer Rates.
I'll move that.
Questions or comments? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tulley?
Yes.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Approved.
And our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution calling for public notice and public hearing on an ordinance amending Chapter 215 entitled Water of the Code of the City of Ogdensburg.
Someone care to introduce this?
I'll introduce it.
Second.
Questions or comments? Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tulley?
Yes.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a leachate treatment agreement with the Development Authority of the North Country.
Someone care to introduce this?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Just a renewal.
That is correct.
Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tulley?
Yes.
Approved.
That brings us to old business. Does anyone have any old business this evening? Hearing none, that brings us to new business. Does anyone have any new business this evening?
I just have a question, I guess. I've had some people call me about people's trash around their house. Like who regulates that? Like there's just piles of trash around people's houses. Is that code enforcement? Who regulates how much trash you can have around your house?
Well, code enforcement would certainly look at that situation.
Okay, so I'll just tell them to call you.
You know, I
Or City
thought
Hall,
about
or-
this,
Sorry. They can certainly call me, or if they want to call the code enforcement. Either one's fine.
I thought about this. I've been called many times by folks over the years, and when I was reading the New York State and NICOM recommended fire code reducing that 30-day 30-day window, I guess, for somebody to clean up. It seems like the city is restricted too much when it comes to forcing people to remove trash. And at the moment, I don't know specifics, but I know that oftentimes I've gone to code myself and said, listen, I'm getting a complaint on this property, and they say, we know, and we've addressed it, and it's so much time that takes place, and then the process starts over. Too bad with the local laws and ordinances. I think we need a better system, and I don't know if that's part of the comprehensive plan as well, but I think we need a better system for response and getting people to respond to complaints and things like that.
When people respond, that's great. Our challenge is the fact that, we will provide a violation, but then there's no cleanup afterwards. I think we have a fairly aggressive program once a property is identified to get it cleaned up. The other challenge is, in a very short period of time, the problem exists again, right? We can send somebody in, they can clean it up, but a few days later, a few weeks later, the problem persists because you have irresponsible property owners or property owners that they're absentees, right? And so that ends up being the challenge. But we have a pretty aggressive program once we identify a property and once we exhaust the system that we're required to go through to get them cleaned up. It's certainly not perfect, and it's certainly not as extensive as we'd like it to be, but given the constraints that we have both in manpower and in resources, do the best we can with what we do. And I would say that, and the chief can comment if he'd like to, we've been pretty aggressive this spring, and now that the snow is thawed, to start identifying those properties and get them cleaned up to the best of our ability. There is a process that we're required to go through, and let's face it, if you're a decent property owner, it won't look like that. If you're not and you're irresponsible, it will look like that, and you're not going to get compliance with those types of property owners.
And I think a lot of it has to do with absentee landlords who just take the rent and they don't clean up. They don't require their owners to, or their renters to clean up. My second new business or old business, I guess, is this piece of property on the corner of, I had some calls on that again, Franklin and Riverside, the burned out Hall building. What's going on with that thing at all? Or I know it's legal or whatever, but that's got to be cleaned up soon, shouldn't it? I mean,
Well, again, that is a parcel that has a property owner, and the property owner is responsible for taking care of that. The property owner has voiced his opinion, and Chief, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, that he's not going to remove that. We're working with the county, who is gaining some type of control over the property.
Okay.
It's one of those things where the property owner should take care of it, is not taking care of it. And at some point in time, if they don't, we'll probably have to go in and do something. The question is, that's going to be incredibly expensive to do,
Sure.
right? Because you're going to have asbestos monitoring on that. So that's certainly, it's not going in there with a dump truck and just picking up the debris and throwing it in there. It's a very, cumbersome process to do that.
Okay.
We have a similar situation in Mechanic or Congress Street with a house that burned. The debris is there. And correct me if I'm wrong, Fonda, but aren't we pretty limited as to what we could do since we turned our taxing ability over to the county?
I think there's a lot of truth in that statement. What we do is, if we have to do the work ourselves or pay somebody to do that, we once a year re-levy those charges if they're not. So we bill the property owner. The property owner more often than not will not pay that bill, and then we re-levy, and the county theoretically would make the city whole. But you can see that the county has balked in some cases, not necessarily in the city of Ogdensburg, but in some other municipalities, in making some of those municipalities whole. So we're sensitive to making sure that, we are not utilizing taxpayer funds and making decisions where reimbursements may or may not come. But you're right, that we do have limited ability to do some of these things.
I believe that there's a history in New York State, municipalities refusing to take ownership of properties due to the cost of cleanup. The county has done that 2 or 3 times that I'm aware of.
That has happened on occasion, yes.
Any other new business?
I have one item for a recommendation. It's spring, people are getting out, they're cleaning up their yards, they're seeing their decks aren't in great shape, they're seeing that their fences have shifted over the year. Can we do some kind of public service announcement of some sort, just reminding people about building permits and that they may need them, and a little bit of the parameters, not the whole code and everything, but just a little reminder, and what the procedure is to call the code office, etc.
We can do that.
Because not all contractors inform their people that they should do this. I think would be preventative. Thanks.
Anybody else? New business. So that brings us items for discussion. We'll begin with City Manager Fonda Cronis.
In conjunction with our review of the battery energy storage ordinance, we discovered, and I thank both the assessor and the fire chief for pointing out a little-known real property tax law exemption called 487 that would give battery energy storage facilities an exemption for 15 years off of any improvements made on those properties. So I wanted to inform council about that and see if council wishes to take the option to opt out of that, in which case there would not be an exemption for that. Currently, there is no, I think I heard one yes.
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 Okay, so we'll work through that process. I didn't want to suggest a policy otherwise before getting some guidance from council. Okay, we'll work on it.
All right, and then your second.
Sure, I just wanted to remind council and members of the public that I'm holding office hours the nights of council meetings between 5 and 5:45. I am happy to say that I had 1 visitor as opposed to 0 visitors, but I know there's lots of questions out there. And you people sometimes feel like they don't necessarily have all the information. I think that's an opportune time to come in and try and get some, some one-on-one clarifications and get your questions answered. I can't always promise we'll have the answers for you right then and there, but we certainly can get you the answers when appropriate. So I continue to offer that as an option for residents.
Thank you. Any other items for discussion?
I have one.
All right. Listening to the public, it's my belief that public bodies do not have to offer a public comment section. Do that as a courtesy to our citizens. I firmly support our current format, but we also have rules about vulgarity and personal attacks. I would like to see those rules more strictly enforced by shutting off microphones or asking people who violate those rules to leave the chambers.
I agree with you 100%. It's creating a hostile environment for other members of the public to want to even come and be involved.
There's a reason for the rules, and it's to have an orderly meeting, to conduct ourselves in a Robert's Rules of Order sort of fashion and get business done. Yeah, we can't have vulgarity and things like that. So,
some public boards have eliminated the public comment section entirely from their agenda, and I am not in favor of that.
Right.
Because I think our citizens bring some very valid concerns and points to us.
But whatever rules are in place to ensure some kind of decorum, we need to start really implementing.
Well, I'll just say this as chair. I mean, I try to be consistent, trying to let the individuals, state their piece. And when I maybe I'm a little bit more liberal than I should be in the eyes of public and or council, but I will just try to be consistent in the way I handle situations where consideration might be to end the comments being offered at that time.
I think you've done a pretty good job, Mayor. Sometimes it can be a little more forceful, but it's a tribute to you that you still allow somebody to talk even in the face of it, and you have more patience than me, I'll tell you. So.
Not that he has more patience than you, but that it's a tribute to.
I think, Your Honor, you do a very good job of trying to de-escalate. So that's important. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, comment to Deputy Mayor.
Yes, two happy things. So the Rotary Club of Ogdensburg on Saturday is partnering with the rec department, and we are offering seed trays with seeds, and we're going to teach kids or adults how to plant seeds, and they can go home with a seed tray with flowers or vegetables, and that's this Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Babisky Center. So please come down. We have lots of things that were donated to the Rotary Club from Walmart and from Price Chopper, and we'd love to have you take part in that. Secondly, if you haven't noticed, Mr. Coates has noticed for over a year that our entry signs into the city of Ogdensburg are in disrepair. And that was initially done with the Rotary Club partnering with the Lions Club, the Zana Club, and Kiwanis, and putting that together. And we are meeting this week, and we're going to go over that, and we're going to see about spinning those signs back up. So you'll be hearing something about that, but it's on the radar, and the service clubs are working on that.
It's funny that you say that, Jen, because I was riding by that one by Walmart, by the railroad tracks, and I had my saw and a 2x4. I was going to fix it.
Well, you can come and help. We're going to ask for
It's
volunteers.
driving me crazy that the one sign. Okay, that's good.
We're going to ask for volunteers. I'm sure we won't turn anyone
Tired now,
away.
you got a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time. I drive by
Start
that
going
thing on
around
the bus
fixing
every day.
signs.
But that's just, they'll be the 4 catalyst clubs like they were in the beginning, and the other clubs that have participated in those signs will be invited to participate and help, and any citizen that has a saw or wants to show up and help. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else, items for discussion? So that brings us to citizen participation. At this time, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium and you will have 2 minutes.
Hi, everyone, again. Where I do appreciate that you will consider some of the outbursts that we do have in chambers here, why we're having that. I totally agree. It's very hard sometimes when you're talking about very passionate discussion topics that sometimes we get derailed and the more aggressive side definitely comes out. I totally agree with that. And it should be discussed, limited, let's be respectful. And in the same sense, it needs to go to the members that are also here, because though I may not agree with everybody, and that's absolutely acceptable. If we all agreed, the world would be very boring and bland. But in my passing going back, I had comments made to me as well. We're not all going to agree, and that's fine. But that should also go to this group as well, members listening, adding in, to keep their comments to themselves as well. I got chided twice because I didn't agree with the memorandum that was on tonight. So perhaps if we're making it, make it a nice blanketed one for everybody, regardless of your status in the community. Perhaps it would be a good reminder for everyone to hold their composure, regardless of your affiliations. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers? Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to address council, please use the raise hand feature. The city clerk will recognize unmute one person at a time, and you will have 2 minutes.
I do not see any hands raised, Mayor.
We have 2 resolutions for executive session this evening. Whereas City Manager Fonda Cronus requests an executive session with members of the Augsburg City Council to discuss proposed, pending, or current litigation. And whereas New York State Open Meetings Law permits City Council to adjourn to executive session for such purpose. Now therefore be it resolved that City Council adjourn to executive session to discuss proposed, pending, or current litigation. And be it further resolved that any action resulting from this executive session shall be taken in open session. I so move.
Second.
Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Silly?
Yes.
Approved.
I will note we will be inviting Chief Kearns and Shane Brown to join council in that executive session. Next, whereas City Manager Fonda Cronus requests an executive session with members of the Augsburg City Council to discuss matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. And whereas New York State Open Meetings Law permits City Council to adjourn to executive session for such purpose, now therefore be it resolved, the City Council adjourn to executive session to discuss matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. And be it further resolved that any action resulting from this executive session shall be taken in open session. I so move.
Second.
Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Chivo?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Silly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Approved.
And we do not anticipate any action following executive session, so I make a motion to adjourn following executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting will be adjourned following executive session.